ethics reform, voting reform, health care, and adding almost 1 million Floridians under the Affordable Care Act. Senator Darren Soto from Orlando, thanks so much for joining us on this special legislative session preview show. Okay, so what are the top 3 issues that you think the legislature is going to have to tackle right off the bat?
Well, the budget's the first thing. We have $400 million cuts to education that we're going to try to alleviate. We also have Medicaid expansion, which could provide over 1 million people with health care under the Medicaid. It would go up to 137% of the poverty line. In addition, we have voting reforms that we have to fix. We can't have people waiting on lines. We have to expand out early voting days, locations that you could early vote at. So there's a lot of things on our plate, but I'd say those would be a quick 3 rundown.
This is your first year in the Senate, but you're not new to the process at all. How do you see things going in the Senate, especially under the new leadership with Senate President Don Gates?
Well, there's been a conciliatory olive branch sent out by Senator Gates. He knows we have 14 now and can enforce the rules, and he really set the tone early by reaching out to us and made some Democrats committee chairs and gave me pretty much most of the committees that I wanted to be on, and I've had great access to talk with him. So he's been very conciliatory, and that is in line with the Senate. 2 years ago was kind of an aberration where it was supposed to be the most conservative Senate ever, and the Senate's supposed to be the reflectionary branch where we sort of put the stops on things a little, make sure it's right for Florida. And so I think it's really coming back to what our forefathers wanted, which is for us to slow things down, to make sure they're right before they become law.
Hey, let me ask you about this. When it comes to the whole decision of Governor Rick Scott saying, you know what, yes, I'm going to go ahead and allow the expansion, so almost 100 million Floridians will now be covered under the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, also known as the Obamacare. Some folks within his party saying, oh, he's flip-flopping. But you as a Democrat, are you applauding him for that move?
Certainly we support his decision to recommend expansion. Now, the legislature decides, but he could veto it. So now we know that there won't be a veto. Other governors who are as conservative, not more conservative, have already agreed with this. You had Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey, Brewer of Arizona, and Kasich of Ohio. Two of 3 of those are hardcore Tea Party member, Republicans, and so I think it's easier to cast stones when you're a legislator in the House in a very conservative district as opposed to being a governor of a state that is purple. And so I think it was probably the right move, but yes, he has to watch out to be outflanked from the right now. There's no doubt about it.
Let's talk about ethics. Always a hot topic. I think the average Floridian is so worried about jobs and how much money they have in their pocket. But let's talk a little bit about ethics and how you plan to be involved in the ethics reform process.
Right, and if there was a 4th out of the 3 rundown, ethics would have been number 4 and also is important. We've already codified rules in the Senate where you cannot vote on something that you have a conflict of interest. And if you even think you have to declare the relationship. So we need to first stop people from ever being able to vote on something that specifically benefits them, their business associates, or family members. Second, we're closing the loophole in the lobbying ban. Right now, legislators can't lobby the legislature until 2 years after they're done, but they can still lobby the executive branch, and that's been something that has frustrated the public. So we'll be working to close up that loophole as well. And third is getting jobs in government when you're elected in government. At first, we really tightened the reins for all elected officials because legislators can't get them unless they're reviewed. And there was going to be an immediate ban altogether, but what we did now is you have to present it to the Ethics Commission, and if the Ethics Commission signs off on it as being something that was publicly noticed, something that you're qualified for, and something that's in the ordinary course of business, then you could still accept that employment. And that really is important for the small counties and cities, especially in North Florida, where a lot of them do work in government, which is the major employer up there.
Whew. I think you've got your running shoes on and you've got a lot of coffee in the coffee maker because you're going to be very, very busy.
I'm ready to go.
He's also filed a bill on texting and a plan that could change daylight saving time. Wow, we're out of time already. Can you believe it? We had a lot to cover today in this special edition of Political Connections.